Hey lovelies, thanks for stopping by my channel. I hope you're all having a great fall, and I am excited to have a little fall vibes moment with you today with the Nomad Cosmetics Hudson Valley palette. I know I'm late to the game on getting this video up, so I kind of want to keep this maybe not brief, because I have a feeling this is going to be a fairly long video, but mostly just more on the creative side. I wanted to share a few looks with you. If I've counted correctly, I will have 4 that I'm showing you using every single shade in this palette, and I'll be giving you my thoughts at the end. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist, and here on my channel I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. But in today's video, like I said, we're going to be doing 4 looks, including the one that I'm wearing right now. I love this look. Spoiler alert. And I really wanted to take the time to go through and show the potential that this palette has and use every single shade so I could give you my thoughts. So in case you haven't seen it, in case for some reason you've been missing all of the excitement around this palette, here is the color story right here. We're going to dive into this. Pretty much this is just all going to be kind of set to music, and then at the end of each look I give you my thoughts. So hopefully this is helpful to all of you that are still on the fence about buying this palette, but I'm hoping that it's also great for those of you looking for some inspiration and some look ideas if you already got this one. And before we dive into this, I just want to give a few little details on this palette. Of course, with this color story here, you have 12 beautiful mattes and you have 3 shimmers. So that could be a pro or a con depending on how you like your palettes laid out. Now for me, upon first glance, I was a little bit surprised that there were only 3 shimmers, but I also was kind of excited. I'm more of a shimmer leaning person, but I have so many like single shadows that I could pull into this, and I just thought that all of these mattes were so yummy and delicious, so I could not wait to get my hands on them. So I'll give you my thoughts on this color story at the end of the video now that I have used the palette quite a bit, but that was my initial thought. And with this palette being $39, I think that that's a great price point for the amount of product that you get in here, for the variety of shades that you get in here, and I really do love that this is of course cruelty-free and vegan and plastic-free, which is great. So I think that also, as always, Nomad kills it with the packaging. Like, I mean, seriously, like this was so exciting for everyone to see. I think as they were like starting to do the sneak peeks and sort of like give out the theme, everyone was getting really excited because there's nothing we love to love more than a beautiful fall palette, at least in my opinion. Now, I also love all the beautiful little personal touches that Nomad always includes, like this guide to the Hudson Valley foliage trail. I am thinking I might save this or at least take a picture of it now so that I have it in case I'm ever lucky enough to get out there to be able to do so. I really just love the experience that Nomad brings us. Now we're gonna dive in so you'll get to see all the looks, and I will give you my final thoughts at the end. Okay, now that I have a little bit of face on, I wanted to just talk to you about how I'm feeling so far. This is the first time I've used this palette, by the way, and I just wanted to finish up this look and we can talk as I go through. So, what do I want to use on my lower lash line? I think, honestly, I want to use this shade a little bit more, this Oktoberfest shade. That's the one that I used in my outer corner, and I just love that shade. I think I might use that and then pop a little bit, just a little bit of that Fall Festival, like towards the front, just because I feel like it really emphasizes my eye color. So we're gonna do that as we go through. I'll probably also re-intensify Cider House on my inner corner, but Just some thoughts on this palette as I go through here. Let me see now. Yeah, I mean, now it looks better. I'll be honest. When I first applied that shimmer shade Leaf Peeping, I felt like it was very textured. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. First, I felt like it wasn't even fully like covering my skin. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't fully opaque. I had to like really work to layer it up, and it just looked a little textured, like almost patchy. I feel like now it looks more smoothed out. I don't know if that's just from working with it or if it just kind of like melted into my skin, you know, with the heat of my skin over time. Because obviously I've had this look on for a little bit now, but it just was not my favorite shimmer shadow experience as far as like application. Now I like it. I like the color of it. The mattes have been blending really beautifully. I just wanted to give that little note. And again, just taking a little bit of that Fall Festival shade. And I'm also just gonna like kind of blur into that darker color on the outside. Just going for like kind of smudgy today. Yeah, I am really loving this look. Like everything turned out beautifully. The shimmer is not like overly shimmery. This isn't like a super shiny shimmer formula. Wow, that was a lot to try to get out. So just packing Cider House back on that inner corner. And I'm totally just gonna leave this matte. I hope that you were all able to see this look. It is dark outside. I mean, it's 10 a.m., but it is like dark, dark, dark. So I've had to like turn on all my lights, but I'm trying to like keep my camera settings so that it just doesn't look like too blown out, so that you can really see the real color of this. I really like this. I have to say that Fall Festival shade is so beautiful because to me it's like an orange with that little bit of extra warmth to it, like almost like a tiny bit of red. And that really makes my green come out in my eyes. So I'm really loving this. I'm gonna go throw on some mascara and you can see the final look. Right, here is the finished first look using the Nomad Hudson Valley palette. I'm really happy with this look. If you're curious about what I just threw on my lips, by the way, it is the Sydney Grace Lip Cream in Tracy. I think most people would maybe reach for a warm lip color, but I wanted something to sort of contrast. And I feel like, again, it sort of like makes my eyes pop a little bit, which is what I'm all about. I also have to say, it's kind of nice doing some eyeshadow palette videos after I just filmed my declutter video, because I went through and looked at every single eyeshadow palette in my collection. And right away, when I got this look finished, I was like, you know what this feels like to me? This look feels like it came out of here. This is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. I always get the sunset and the sunrise names confused, but like, I feel like this is the vibes. I feel like this is totally the vibes. Like this could be the lid shade. Of course, this is almost like the inner corner. We've got this guy here. Totally. I'm totally getting like sunset vibes from this. So this one's a lot less expensive than this one. Although this one has been on sale like off and on. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. I was like, totally getting some ND vibes here. Now let's get into some more looks with this palette. Okay, here we are with look number 2. I really like the way this turned out. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised by this shimmer shade here. This, what is it called? Foliage Trail. I did not swatch this palette. I have not swatched this palette at all. And I'm definitely getting some discoveries as we go along. I don't know why I didn't. I really don't know why I didn't, but it's been kind of fun to have a surprise, but also possibly a little dangerous. So in the pan, I think it's just because of the shimmers in this, I really thought that this shade was going to be a little bit lighter, like almost like a coppery nude rosy shade. It is like straight up orange fall vibes, and I love it. It's beautiful. It was just like, oh, that's different than what I thought it was going to be. So luckily I've been kind of like planning out the looks and trying to make sure I use almost every shade. I'm trying. I'm really going to try here, but I was like, oh, do I need to like change my game plan? And I was like, no, I think this is still gonna go. I like this. I like the pop of the brighter color on the lid, the grungier greens. I do have to say, bed and breakfast for me, I was struggling with it getting a little bit patchy. And again, that could be like what I laid down. I did use a different concealer today, so it could be that I usually dust a little bit of translucent powder down after I put concealer on my lids. I might try that in my next look, especially considering that we're going to be getting pretty deep in this next one. Not that this is light and ethereal by any means, but I just felt like I was really struggling. I think part of the reason is this bed and breakfast shade. You know, it's like this, let me see if I can get it to focus. It's this, you know, dirty green, right? When you blend it out, you lose the green and you get a little bit more brown. So it's almost like not only was I having like saturation, like I can still see just a little bit of like patching here. It was more saturated, but then as it blended out, it also turned a different color on me. That's just me. I was able to totally work with it though. What really helped kind of like blend this all together is I took this apple cider donut shade, and like threw that, you know, kind of up to just sort of blend from that situation up into my skin. I did go through with a little bit of Ghost Tour on the inner corner, as you saw, before I went and laid down the highlight that I used. So I did just go ahead and go through with the Hourglass Tiger palette. That's what I pulled out to use for the very first time today. So no judgment. I even used a fluffy blush brush, and whew, okay, but you know me, I love blush and I love orange, so it's totally fine. But I did just throw that highlight from that palette on the inner corner, which you're going to have to do if you like an inner corner highlight, because there really isn't one in this palette. Altogether, I really like this. I think that, you know, everything other than that bed and breakfast shade give me a little bit of trouble. I really like this. I definitely feel better about the Foliage Trail than I did yesterday about Leaf Peeping. I didn't get that like textury vibe on the lid. That also could be because I did change concealer. So for the third look, I'll probably stick with this concealer. And by the way, the one that I used today was the Tarte Ultra Creamy Shape Tape. And then yesterday I used the Jouer one, which is a little bit drier. So that could have been part of it. Ooh, here is this final look. I have to say, I really like this. And if you know me, you know I'm not one to usually wear all matte, but I'm really digging on this. I think this is very fall vibes. Let me tell you, all of these shades blended out beautifully. So, so beautifully. I really think for me, laying down that translucent powder first definitely helps, but they just all like, they all came together so nicely. And I have to say, I do love a good red eyeshadow. I know it can be something that's kind of scary, but I think if you balance it out with some other shades, it can really be stunning. And I really do enjoy this shade. And another awesome thing, as you probably saw when I was applying, I got virtually zero fallout. Now I am pretty good about tapping off my brush, and if you could see when I was doing the application, especially once we got to this red shade, which I'm forgetting the name, apple picking. So once I got to the apple picking shade, I was really making sure just to tap the brush on, like stamp it on, and then once there was almost no shadow on the brush, I could blend it out a little bit. I didn't blend out apple picking very much on its own because it did start to get that pink tone, which a lot of reds can have. I mean, a sheer red is essentially a pink, right? I will say, I feel like this is a pretty true red. It's not a blue red, it's not an orangey red, but it is definitely more of like a red and not too pinky until you shear it out a lot. So that's why I went through with Fall Festival to blend that shade out rather than using it on its own to blend out because it would have been pink. Every shade in here, totally stunning. And again, normally I would probably put something on my inner corner, like a little subtle pop of something. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do, let's just take this brush here and I'm just gonna pop Ghost Tour on the inside. That's that like matte, I don't even know what to call this, like a warm cement color in the best way possible. I'm just gonna pop this on. I have such dark inner corners, and I think that, you know, popping this on might just give a little bit of brightness, but normally I would probably pop on at least like a little subtle inner highlight situation, but I'm loving this matte feel today. As for what's on the rest of my face, I just went through with a couple products that were in my live Shop My Stash, my fall edit Shop My Stash that I did. So we have the Charlotte Tilbury cream bronzer that has the really long name, and then the Becca Songbird blush. I really like that. I've just been kind of like okay with the no highlighter on a lot of days, and especially since this is a matte look, and I think that that Songbird shade really has a beautiful like natural glow to it, so I'm okay with that. I did also whack on a Fenty gloss. Which one did I use? Where is it? Oh, this is Fenty Glow. My lips right now are in a state. They are in an angry state, so I just needed something that's gonna fill in all the lines and maybe hide some of the cracky dryness. It's not cute, y'all. I do have to say, I'm also wearing the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. Loving this mascara. Like, I'm loving it. I did enjoy it upon like first review. I did use it in a trying new makeup video, which I'll have linked up here. But now I've truly fallen in love with this mascara. I just think it really stretches out your lashes, but still adds some nice volume to them. All right, I feel like I've got this like sexy morning voice going on. Anyway, I know that I have one more look to show you because I filmed it yesterday. Ooh, I think it might be tied for favorite with this look. Let's go check it out. All right, well, this is a fun one for sure. I really enjoy this look. I mean, this is definitely a pretty bold look, right? But it's also pretty and it's bold, if you know what I'm saying. I really enjoy it. I think everything worked really well, actually. I have no complaints about any of the shades. I did find that this lovely green shade, Corn Maze, it worked really great over a glitter glue. Did I necessarily need it? Maybe not, but I just thought that I would test it out. I did actually find that using a little bit of translucent powder dusted over my concealer really helped these mattes blend out beautifully. I mean, I feel like a lot of times these burgundy shades like Wine Harvest here, they can get a little sketch sometimes, you know what I mean? So I think that just gave it a nice insurance. Everything blended out so nicely. I don't really have a lot to say other than the fact that I love that Wine Harvest shade. The green shade is very fun. I like this combo. I think it's kind of like great for spooky season. I would definitely wear this again. It's been super fun. I did just add a little bit of black liner onto my lash line, like the tiniest bit. I feel like that just kind of helped to balance out the drama of it all. And since the eyes are so bold, I really didn't put much else on the face. Also, I'm not really doing anything much for the rest of the day, but this is this Rosé Champagne shade that's on my cheeks from Wet n Wild. And then what did I put on my lips here? This Pat McGrath gloss, because you know, there's nothing like combining Wet n Wild and Pat McGrath. This is Divine Rose. So I really like this combo. So at this point, I think you've seen all of the looks, and I have used, if I've kept track well, I have used every single shade in this palette. So let's dive into my final thoughts, what I feel about this palette, and whether or not I would recommend it for you to pick up. Okay, lovelies, I hope that you have enjoyed the 4 looks that I did with this pretty little palette. Now let's get into some thoughts. I know that I've shared a lot of my thoughts along the way with you, but I just want to do like a little like roundup here. Now, I have to say, looking at this, I don't think that there is anything in here that I don't already have shade-wise. Like, I think pretty much every shade in here I have somewhere in my collection, right? I don't think that's what makes this special. I think what makes it special is the collection of shades, that there's all of these in one place that you can quickly grab and use. And I think, I mean, I did 4 looks and I feel like I still have so many ideas of things to do. Like I probably could have done like a 10 looks video, but who has time for that? Who has time to either create it or watch it? That's all I'm saying. Now, if there's anything that I would change about this palette, I do think, obviously I had a little bit of a lack of love with the Leaf Peeping shade. I did not try this on its own again without that concealer base that I used before, so maybe that's it. Maybe it just was not working with that concealer base. But I do think if this shade were a bit lighter, like if it was a little bit lighter, it could be used as a lid shade, but also as an inner corner shade. And I think that that would be what I would prefer. A funny thing is when I first got this palette, I was kind of like, why is this guy in here? Like, what is he gonna do for us? And for me, this was kind of essential to this palette. I think that this really works well as a beautiful brightening shade, but without being like too overly bright, but it also works as a nice blender, as almost like a little bit of an eraser if you need to like smooth out a mistake. I don't know how the shade would be on deeper skin tones though, but I do feel like for my skin tone, it really worked well, and I would want to keep it in this palette. And since I have used every single one of these shades, I can tell you that the only one I had any issues with was that Bed and Breakfast shade, and that was kind of just more of like a slight issue. I just had that like little bit of patching. I do think for me, I am really always going to use a bit of translucent powder on the lid before I go through with these. It's just that little bit of extra insurance. And even with that, I mean, even with that, I did not have any issues building up a beautiful level of depth, like at all. I think that sometimes people shy away from setting their primer with anything because it like tones down the pigmentation of shadows. You're not gonna have a problem with any of these shades. I had no problem at all. I do think with most of these, if you do want that high level of pigmentation, just like when I used the Apple Picking shade, you know, I popped it on, and then after I got the blending done, I did end up popping just a bit more, just tapping a little bit on that area that I wanted the most saturation. But everything worked really beautifully. So I just saw, while I've been like doing this video all week, I just saw that Nomad has announced that they're going to be doing a holiday palette, which on one hand I'm excited for. I mean, most brands do some sort of holiday launch, but I do have to say, I personally feel like Nomad has been doing a lot of frequent launches. And that's one thing for me that it just hits me in a way. I don't know, it's a little bit overwhelming. So I think that they had like a lot of palettes that sort of got like squished into the end of the year, and I would imagine that it has to do with everything that's been going on in the world, and then, you know, shipping and maybe even some component delays, who knows. but it's just been a lot. That is something, I just don't want these beautiful indie brands turning into the next ColourPop, where it's like, gotta get new stuff out, keep everybody interested. And so that's one thing that's just been like, oh, for me. But I also have to say, they're probably like snagging a little bit of interest from different makeup lovers. You know, like for me, the Provence palette was not something that I wanted. It wasn't a color story that I was into, but I'm sure some people were really into that one. And then I liked the next one, and then maybe other people didn't, right? But I just feel like they've been more frequent. So that for me is one thing that it just worries me that, it honestly just worries me that quality starts going down when there's so much frequency. I'm not seeing that in this palette at all. Will I get the holiday palette? I'm not quite sure. I obviously haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Doing my eyeshadow declutter has really made me look at what I have in my collection, and has really made me stop and pause and decide, like, is this special enough? Is it either unique in the collection of colors that are all in one place? Is it unique enough as far as like shade wise that I need this, that I want it, that I will use it more than a couple times when I first get it and it's exciting? So we'll have to see. Now, if you have any thoughts about this palette, if you have gotten this, if you're thinking about getting it, I would love to have a conversation with you down below. At the end of the day, do I recommend this palette? Yes, of course. I think you could tell that I really enjoyed using this. I love the color story. If you enjoy a color story like this, if you would find it helpful to have all of these types of shades in one place, if you're like me and you'd like to have some more colorful mattes to be able to pull out with your other single shadows for some shimmers, that's a great option as well. I did also see, by the way, that Nomad has started offering, I don't know if it's all of the shades or just some of the shades as singles. That's really exciting because I think that they are great quality. So maybe that's something that I would lean towards more in the future too, is maybe just picking up some Nomad singles. At any rate, let's keep talking about this one. I mean, you have to go into this knowing you're not getting any like shifty multi-chromes. There really isn't like an outstanding shimmer in here that's like, oh my gosh, this is like amazingly fun. You know, I really enjoyed 2 out of the 3 shimmers in here, but I do think that you could pull in other things as well. Oh, and I do have to pop in here just to give a little plug to my friend Steven because they have a code for Nomad, and I believe it's Steven10. I'll leave it right down here. I'll have to check. But I think it's Steven10. And so you'll be able to save a bit off of your purchase if you do want to snag this one, because it is Kelly approved. So I know that I'm going to be reaching for this quite a bit this season. I think I've gotten a wide variety of looks, and I can't wait to dig into it more. Like I said, there's still so much potential in this one. Thank you, lovely, so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it with me. I will see you really soon.